Tonight we're tying the black Boudreaux. And this fly was created by Ray Boudreaux of New Iberia. He's a longtime member of the Acadiana Fly Rods Club, and he's been a fixture at a lot of regional fly fishing events, fly tying events. So some of you may have seen him before, and particularly tie this fly. Ray was going to do it for us, lead us tonight, but he couldn't. He had to take his dad to Houston, where he's undergoing some medical tests right now. So our prayers are with Ray and his family. A little bit of history about this fly. Back when Ray first joined the Acadiana Club, they had a local fishing outing, and one of the members was catching a lot of fish on a small little fly with hackles on it. And according to Ray, he tried to duplicate that fly, but as often happens, he didn't quite get it right, and then he started experimenting with it. And the next thing you know, he came up with something that was new and different. And the black Boudreaux was born. Now, Ray didn't name that fly. Bob Bays, who is one of the members of the Acadiana Club and a past president of that club, gave the fly its name. It should be added that when the fly is completed, even with a grizzly hackle like this, it looks black. And so that's where it got its name. Although I do tie some with a black hackle, and I haven't tried that yet, but Ray gave me a couple that were tied with purple hackle, and those are really fascinating. And there's something about the color purple and the combination of that and the peacock curl that's on this fly that really attracts fish. If you notice, it's tied on a scud hook. Let me show you what that does. When it lays down, it looks like that. Now you can tie this on a dry fly hook, you can tie it on a wet fly hook, but the reason that Ray chose a scud hook was for this reason right there. It kind of sticks up off the bottom, but more important, if you're fishing the strike indicator like I was doing yesterday, it has a perfect horizontal orientation like this in the water under the strike indicator. And I think that's one of the reasons why it works so well with this hook under a strike indicator. Now, when it comes to scud hooks, I'll paraphrase Forrest Gump. Scud hooks are like a box of chocolates. You never know what you're going to get. They can vary. You can have a 2X short scud hook, a 1X short scud hook, or a regular shaft length scud hook. You can have a wide gape. The gape is the distance between the shank and the hook point, or you can have a narrow gape. And it comes in either a regular finish or a black finish. This is actually a black finish hook. It doesn't look that way because I've got a lot of light, both natural and artificial, coming in on it. But it's actually a black finish, nickel finish hook on there. In fact, I know this is backwards, but it's a fulling mill. And the reason I chose this particular hook is because it's a standard shank hook, scud hook, which is what we're going to need for this length of fly right here. If this fly was maybe like a midge type pattern, I might use a shorter hook. But for this one, you want a standard shank hook. First, we're going to tie in the eyes, and that uses small bead chain eyes. You notice they even have extra small. I made the mistake one time of getting extra small. You need a microscope to see it. They're so small. Believe me, these are really small. And so we're going to begin by tying in the thread on this hook. And yes, I'm tying outdoors. That's thunder, as you hear. I like to give a long base of thread before I tie in anything. Several wraps in there. Doesn't have to be perfect. These eyes are going to go right behind the hook eye like this. So, maybe y'all can't see it right now, but I'm doing a couple of figure 8 wraps. And then once I've got about 6 of those figure 8s in place, I'm going to do an over and under. or under and over is really like this. Can you see what I'm doing? Yeah. What this does, it pulls the eyes up against the shank of the hook. And after I've done a few of those, I'm going to wrap thread around the base of the eyes like this. And that grabs those over and under threads and knocks them down. I've still got enough leeway where I can push these eyes into position like that. I'm not too worried that they're just a little loose because we're going to epoxy this at the end. I do want them to stay in place during the tying. Now, the original pattern called for kiptail, but Bob prefers to use the hackles of a feather like this, and that's because they undulate in the water. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to strip off a bunch of these hackles like this. You can get about 10, 12, and bunch them up together. You see they're really fine. I can't believe the amount of motion these things create in the water. I'm going to go ahead and I'm going to tie them, starting right behind the eyes. I just like to be just like that. I'm going to bring it back to where the barb of the hook is right there. Let me focus that in a little more. Okay. Stand excess up and clip it off. And we have a tape. Now, I want to tie in the hackle feather. And here comes the thunder. Most of y'all received a saddle hackle in the packet. And this comes off the rooster, the hackle feathers. They're, you can buy a saddle or you can buy a cape. For dry fly fishing, for most of these nymph flies, I prefer a saddle because the feathers all come in the same exact size. If for a grizzly, I typically buy a cape because I use some of the other feathers, the larger feathers that come in. We got a mixture of those for saltwater patterns. So it just depends on what you want to do. Recently, whiting, and this is a whiting feather, is now available in what they call 100 packs. That is, each of these fibers, you get about 15 of these long feathers like this in a pack. It's supposed to tie 100 flies. You don't get 100 feathers. You get 15 feathers, and it's supposed to tie 100 flies. I'll be honest with you. I think they can tie 60 at the most, but 60 is more than you'll need. And it's a lot cheaper than buying a full saddle, which is about $70 these days. So anyway, one of the things I'm going to do with this is I'm going to cut off. You can strip the one side of the feathers, but I'm actually going to cut them off. And the purpose of this is as you tie this in, if you have feathers sticking out, if you have feathers on both sides, some of those feathers will get crushed. And you'll end up with a sloppy looking fly. Okay. So now as you can see, I cleared the barbel right there. I'm going to tie that in at the tail, come back around, and then tie this barbel down. And so now the feather is tied in pretty good. Okay, so next I'm going to use peacock curl. And this is the body. And peacock curl is pretty fragile. So the two ways to tie this peacock curl in, one of them, first of all, let me clip these ends off on there. One way is to just tie them in and then wrap the peacock curl around. So I'm going to tie them in like this, and you could just wrap them around if you want. But peacock herl is pretty fragile. And so what I do to secure that peacock, make it stronger, is I make a dubbing rope with it. I take the peacock herl, 2 strands, and I just wrap it around my thread. And wrap it down about maybe 3 inches on this fly right here. Okay. And then what I'll do is I'll take, you can take your hackle pliers, or you can take just one of these little clips. Now clip it right there, and I'll bring my thread up. And what I've done is I've made a dubbing loop. Bring my thread forward. Now what I'm going to do is I'm going to cut this excess off, get it out of the way. And I'm going to twist, 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 twisting the knife away. If you think you've twisted enough, you haven't. When it begins to spiral around at near the fly, you've twisted enough. Now, I'll adjust the camera right here. We've got a macro lens on this camera, and hopefully you can pick up, you can see what it's done. It's made a nice rope with it. And then what I'm going to do is I'm going to wrap that rope around the hook, watching out for this point right here. I want to angle it near the point of the hook, so the point doesn't break, the hook doesn't break my little rope. And I'm just going to wrap it around. And then tie off with a couple of wraps, the thread. Don't cut too short. I leave it a little bit right there near the head. But let me get another view for you folks. And you can see I've got a nice body on there. And believe me, I caught over 40 fish yesterday. Sockeye, brim, bass on one fly. It's still in great shape. Probably could fish it for another 2 weeks. It'll really hold up. Okay, so now I'm going to take my hackle feather. What you can do is just cut some of this off. I'm going to wrap it around and watch that hook point. So I'm going to have to back the camera off a little bit on this. Whoa! Do we still have connection?
Yes. Yeah.
Good connections, Cats.
Okay.
Oh, crap.
So now I'm going to take my thread, do a couple of wraps that way, and then we'll do another figure 8 wrap. Actually, a couple more figure 8 wraps. And then we'll finish this off at the front. And I didn't bring my whip finisher outside. I wish I had. I'll have to do this by hand. Again, I'm not too worried about having just one whip finish on it here, one knot, because I'm going to epoxy this afterwards. Just a little drop of epoxy right where the sweet point is, right there. If you put just a little epoxy right in there, this fly will hold together and last and last and last. And so now, let me pull it out. Okay, we're not quite finished with this fly, because one thing that Ray does is he trims the bottom and the sides of this fly. Kind of comes at it at a bit of an angle like this off the bottom. I don't know if you saw that, but you can see what he does right there. Okay, and he's gonna come on the sides and do the same thing. The only part that he doesn't trim is the hook side. I mean the point side. And so let me see. And get real close with this macro lens on there. And there you have it. That, my friends, is the black Boudreaux.